So, I'm joined now by David Kelly here, the CEO and president of Chakana Copper. David, thanks for making the time. Unusual times, obviously, and Chakana Copper put out a press release about operations in Peru, and I think we will start quickly with a very brief update on Chakana Copper itself before we dive into the current situation, I think. Why don't you start us off, David, and thanks, welcome on the show.
Yeah, Kai, thank you. Yeah, the current status for us is we were preparing for our drill program that was supposed to start this month, and obviously that's been put on hold. But we are fully funded for a very aggressive drill program this year. We have $7 million in the bank. That resulted from the investment by Goldfields last year, May 2019, a strategic investment by them. So we're financially very strong. We're at the very end of a long, lengthy permitting process to give us access to drill new targets in a very exciting part of the project that we've not yet been able to drill in. And so that's where the program is heading this year. And as soon as we get past this delay, then we'll be moving ahead with that, finishing off the permitting and initiating the drilling.
So, fantastic. That was great up until 10 days ago, pretty much. That was the plan. And now, obviously, COVID-19 threw a wrench in everybody's legs. And
Yeah.
things have obviously changed. Peru, from what I'm hearing, has been extremely drastic, but it
Mm.
seems like also effective because they shut down the country already over almost 8, 9 days ago, and
Yeah.
stopped all movement in the country, and yeah, now even put a curfew in place for people not to go outside. So why don't you give us an update on what's happening in Peru right now?
Yeah, I mean, Peru seems to be faring pretty well. Their current infected rate is at about 363 people, which is much lower than surrounding countries in South America. So they seem to be holding well. If that information is accurate, they've done a good job with that. The measures that we took, along with many other junior companies operating in Peru, was to shut everything down and put our employees and our contractors and their families and our communities that we work in, in the safest place possible. So we're adhering to all of those protocols, and people are working at home, and we're just waiting it out. The initial state of emergency was set for 15 days. We don't know if that's going to be extended. We think it's probably likely that it will. I think this first 15 days is going to give the government a good barometer on how things are going and what the infection rates are looking like, and that type of thing. So I do expect to get some news out of Peru later this week to see where we stand.
Okay, interesting. And you're all cashed up as well, so there's no worries in that regard. But importantly as well, like, talk to us about what you're doing behind the scenes now. Everybody thinks, and sometimes I have the feeling based on emails I get or don't get, is that people are taking a 2 week, 3 week vacation. That's not the case for you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, well, that's certainly not the case with us. And drilling is the culmination of a very lengthy process, and it's you often don't see what that process is, but it's a lot of deep interrogation of the data that you have, 3D modeling, looking at it, getting multiple views and perspectives from your different geoscientists in the group. So it's a lengthy process, and we've gone through that process to derive the next round of drill targets that we plan to test. But we've also just completed a very detailed ground magnetic survey that was completed in early March, and it covers the entire area of known mineralization and known tourmaline breccia and that's a wealth of new information that we have to work through. And we're working with our geophysicists to generate the different images. There's different types of images that can be produced from this data, some that help with the structural interpretation, some that are more based on just straight geology and identifying lithology. And we actually hope that we'll be able to do some direct targeting of breccia pipes themselves with this information. In the area of known breccia pipes, we've done very detailed 25-meter spacing in those areas. So all of that data requires a very deep look to see what we can get out of it. We've also brought on a consultant to help us with district targeting, looking at district zoning vectors, trying to identify where the intrusive centers may be related to these tourmaline breccipites. So there's actually quite a bit of work going on behind the scenes. And we put together the drill program, and you see the results of the drilling, but there's actually a lot of work that happens behind the scene that you don't see.
What can investors expect in terms of news flow then? Like, I know it's been slowed down, obviously, obviously, and putting out technical analysis results or
Yeah,
your homework pretty much, in
yeah.
paper form. It's going to be a tough one. It doesn't happen every day. So what can we expect as
Right.
investors?
Well, the plan originally was to put out to start the drilling program and then start getting drill results out. And we have some really, really exciting targets to drill test. We'll be drilling in the Paloma area, which has the Paloma East and the Paloma West pipe, and then we'll be moving over to the Huancarama breccia complex, which is multiple breccias. There's five significant breccia bodies exposed at surface, all gold bearing over about a 200-meter width area. So that was the plan, was to get that news out. Now we will have some additional information coming from the magnetic survey that will certainly supplement our geological understanding of the district, and perhaps even enhance some of the targets that we will be testing, and may even affect drilling those differently. But that needs to be looked at. So there's that information that could certainly be put out. I know that what the market really wants to see is drilling more, and that's really going to be what we're focusing on, is to get that happening as soon as we can do it safely.
Talking about drilling and the permit again, is the government office completely shut down, or actually people working from home? And is that
Yeah,
progressing at least inch by inch, not mile by mile, right?
yeah. I mean, my understanding is that all non-essential agencies have been closed and they're not working at home. They're actually on essentially on paid leave at the moment. The and that does include the Ministry of Energy and Mines, which is where the permitting goes through. So that's a bit unfortunate, obviously, and we're not the only ones caught in this. There are many other companies that are in the middle of a permitting process. Fortunately for us, we're at the very end of the process. The ministry is well aware how long it's taken us to get to this point, and they understand the importance and the urgency. And most recently, even as a result of some of the feedback that was given to us at PDAC, there's indications that the government, even totally unrelated to coronavirus, the recognition that they need to expedite the permitting process. And so there's now a proposal out there that's being evaluated that eliminates consulta previa for exploration stage projects. It pushes that into the more the follow-up kind of heading towards exploitation, and then also trying to instigate negative positive silence procedure, so that if you don't hear a response within a certain period of time, it's assumed to be positive, and then you move to the next step. So they're also making other measures to try to help the backlog and to move projects along more quickly.
Okay, so the whole delegation made their way up to PDAC.
There was a smaller delegation, but the minister and the vice minister were there, and we did meet with them one on one, as well as they came around, and they had a little bit of a walk around for them to see the different junior companies at PDAC that are exploring in Peru.
Okay, so that's great. So they're making a big effort, as you're saying, to
Absolutely,
advance
yeah.
things. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
David, is there anything else we need to touch on right now to give investors an update? Because the idea of this is also to make it brief, more from the hip than anything else.
Yeah.
We're already at 8 minutes 30, so let's get to the questions. That's really the main part here. So what we set up is a screen here as well, where we can see the questions come in using hashtag #AskPeru. We'll see how it goes. This is the first time, so I understand that audience might be limited the first go around. We've received a couple questions beforehand. David, you can't see it, but it's here on the screen on the right side. So I'm just going to read them to you, and we'll just go through them. And this will actually update live once questions come in. We'll see how it works. So the first one is for Pete Panda. Everybody knows him. He's a quite active blogger here on Twitter. So quite excited to have him come out with a couple of questions. So I'm just going to start from top. It's unedited. It's live what's on Twitter, so for everybody to follow up on it. So have you considered changing your name from Chakana Copper to maybe Chakana Resources, and I'm going to add even Chakana Copper and Gold to the name?
Yeah, we have considered that. We get asked that question a lot. Maybe we change the name to Chakana Gold. We do have a lot of gold and silver in this deposit. It's a very interesting deposit, and I can't say that we fully understand it yet. We do expect these breccia pipes will evolve as we go deeper and hotter in the system, that they will become more dominantly copper mineralized breccia bodies. We don't know for sure, and obviously we need to do a lot more deeper drilling in order to understand that. We try to emphasize the impact that the precious metals will have on this project. Obviously, it will be a copper concentrate type of operation. It probably will also have some type of a leach circuit for the gold, but it definitely will be a copper deposit as well. So that's why we haven't changed that. I mean, we could make that change, but then sometimes we think, well, what would the real impact of that be? And then if we start drilling a lot of copper as we go deeper, then will people want us to switch back? So right now we're just holding steady. I'm excited to see how much precious metal is in the deposit. Right now, the gold and silver run about 60%. Versus the rest of the value being in the copper, so that is very, very significant. And we're not talking about low grades either. We're talking copper grades that are upwards of around 1% and 1 to 2 grams gold and 30 to 60 grams silver over hundreds of meters. So it is significant credit in precious metals for sure.
Okay. Goldfield, obviously a big joint venture partner. What's their percentage again? Remind me real quick.
They're right at about 17%.
Perfect. What's their involvement right now? Obviously, share price is down, so they're not too happy about their investment itself. But I think they came in more on the technical side and were intrigued by the project more than the shares itself.
Absolutely, yeah. The shares was for them was a way of getting involved in the project to get a seat at the table, and they've never complained about the share price. I mean, obviously, I'm sure they're not happy with it, but they didn't make that investment as a stock investment. It was made to get them involved in the project, a project that they are very excited about. They've been very involved in the project since the beginning. We formed a technical advisory panel that meets every month, and we go through topics about technical aspects of the program, drill program, geophysical programs, metallurgy programs, resource estimation, and they brought a whole team of people. So when we meet, we're talking with a variety of specialists within Goldfields, and they've made it clear that anyone in the organization is available to us if we need it. So they've been a tremendous partner, very supportive, and their goals for the project are very compatible with ours.
Cool. No, that's good to hear that they're a strong partner there. We got
Yeah.
one more question from CEO.ca, and it's a bit far-reaching, but I figured I'd ask it anyway because it's early days as well already. We talked about mining and processing methods for the projects, and how would you mine a breccia pipe? Maybe you could have
Yeah.
just 30 seconds on that real quick.
Yeah, so the approach that the mining engineers that we've talked to three different mining engineers, and they all have a very similar view in that you would do sub-level mining on individual pipes with long hole stoping. The proximity of the pipes are anywhere from 25 meters apart to 250 meters apart, and you have elevation working in your favor. So you can drift underneath the breccia pipes to intersect multiple breccia pipes, start working faces on perhaps two pipes, and then while you're mining those working faces, you can be developing interconnected underground infrastructure. And that seems to be the approach that most of the mining engineers, at least that we've talked to, are advocating. And the aspect of mining they think is very straightforward. We just need to get the resources, obviously, to get to that point.
Okay, great. I think we're going to end on that because I think it's early days to talk about it any further than that.
That's right. Yeah.
I have one last question, and I encourage everybody still to use the hashtag AskPeru to come out with any questions you can have. Just post them here on Twitter. And I have one question, and it's regarding the slide of your share structure and the share price decline. Obviously, a lot of panic selling, people going into cash, so no fault here. But have you heard from any institutions or like Goldfields obviously hasn't sold, or but any of the institutions or high net worth investors that are on your register right now that panic sold any bigger positions?
phenomenal targets, as good as anything we've drilled to date is waiting to be drilled, and that's going to be our very next step. So it is a good entry point or a good opportunity to average down for those investors. And I bought shares recently myself, and I would encourage people to keep watching this.
Okay, no, perfect. I think that's a perfect note to end on as well. I don't think we have anything else happening here on Twitter as well. So for the first time go around, I think that was really good. We kept it to about 12 minutes, 15 minutes maybe. Um, as I said before off mic, I think we should do an update perhaps next week as well if we know what's going on in Peru. Just really brief, and then keep going. David, thanks for making the time. Thanks for being our guinea pig today, and
You bet.
stay safe and wash your hands.
You too. Thank you. Take care.
Take care.